Losing a friendship is heartbreaking, yet we rarely admit that, whereas romantic relationships usually have a clear cut breakup point, friendships don't really end. They get dragged on by a string almost indefinitely, and ultimately, the end remains unacknowledged. Thus, grief cannot take on its rightful role, and the process of just moving on gets hindered. What happens is friends just start to drift, and time does its thing. Hanging out becomes a chore, an obligation for the sake of your joint past. All conversations seem to revolve either around catching up because you spend less and less time together, or reminiscing about the past because your relationship is stagnant. Soon enough, you start avoiding interactions, missing parties, or skipping events that before were your common ground. Eventually, you just stop talking. But perhaps not all is lost. Give it some time. It might be possible to reconnect. Maybe it was just due to circumstances, moving out somewhere that's too far, change of social circles through work or college, or maybe a new romantic relationship that demanded all the attention, whatever. Yes, perhaps all that is needed is to rekindle the friendship. Sadly, at least in my experience, all reconnecting did was drive the wedge in and merely highlighted the differences between us. Too much time passed, too much changed. There's a rich history between us, but it is now useless. It is irrelevant. It stands like an overgrown wall preventing us from starting anew. So, there we are, reconnecting, with so much unsaid, yet pretending like it's business as usual. Stuck, unable to get out of this jam, and just counting down time until it ends and we can go back to random encounters where we make empty promises to hang out sometime again. And that is not even the worst part. Worse yet is that this whole situation is just swept under the rug, occasionally coming out to gnaw at your conscience. Look, I wanted to do a video essay classic and delve into what are friends and why they matter, but I got frustrated with myself writing such cliche nonsense, so instead, I will just continue my train of thought and see where it leads us. Take what I'm about to say with a grain of narcissism on my end, okay? I have now completely lost touch with all of my friends from school, even though we kept pretty close after graduating. Why? It keeps gnawing at me. Why do they tense up when I'm there? Why is it that I cannot help feeling and probably sounding dismissive and even contemptuous to all of their conversations? I hate how presumptuous this sounds, but I feel like we're not on the same playing field anymore. Or at least we don't play the same games. Friends are there to have a horizontal relationship with. That is what makes them peers and not parents, students, or authoritative figures. You can cooperate, experiment, explore, and compete with shared and negotiated rules. And that is precious. Well, we're the same age, but it doesn't feel like that anymore. It doesn't feel like we are peers. For years, I insisted on at least my understanding of maturing. Goals like competence, education, marriage. I insisted on moving forward, on long term goals, on participating and competing in various social hierarchies. In a word, growing, or at least my conception of it. And fine, I admit, when I put it this way, maybe I'm just a bore to be around. Perhaps I was too insistent, too adamant in my way. However, why then do I have new friends that seek similar goals and yet we have a blast together? Why can't I have that with my old friends? What's missing there? The only explanation I can muster up is that these goals of mine is precisely what ended up estranging us from my old friends, because they have different goals. on some level, perhaps they're even contradictory ones. Honestly, they seem stuck, refusing to move on from adolescent ways of being and grow up. They still hang out the same way we did 10 years ago. Some are still at dead end jobs, some are still living at their parents', and some have been and still continue to be single for years and insist on hanging out in a singles way. In any case, it illustrates the feeling that we live in different worlds. Look, I don't want to come across as a judge. I'm trying to state painful differences. It pains me just to say all this. But how else can I find the truth? If I keep silent, it will continue gnawing at me forever. Perhaps it is a personality difference that finally came into conflict. Loyalty versus openness, but at this point, I'm overthinking it. And so, as you can tell, I have been stuck on this, trying to find an answer. Is this normal? Should I just let go and move on with my life? It seems normal for friendships to end, as in it happens to people, but other than that, I find it hard to just take it as a meh part of life. You know what I mean? Given all that I have stated, I think why my friendships ended can be boiled down to failure to adapt to change on both sides. A relationship, like any other pattern of existence that is alive, needs the capacity for constant change, both destructive and creative. What is unchanging is almost by definition dead. That is why at the start of the video I mentioned nostalgia as a sign of decaying friendships. I know it is best to simply appreciate that it happened and let it go, move on, but I find it hard to find closure without expressing it. And as we have discussed, breaking up with a friend is stupid. Huh. Yeah, I think I found what's been gnawing at me. A lack of closure. So you know what? Here goes. Every relationship deserves a proper goodbye, and this is mine to you. I want to take responsibility for the way things turned out between us. If I could rewind the clock, I would do things differently. But I can't. Perhaps I don't really know how to be a friend, but that is my burden to live with. I nevertheless value the time we spend together, the memories we share, and will forever prize those. I do not expect we will ever truly reconnect, but I will also try to accept that. We're different people now, and it's okay. What hurts is not just losing you, but realizing that what we were once to each other no longer exists. Still, I would rather honor what was than go on pretending that it could still be. I wish you only the best. Genuinely. We need, in love, only to practice this, letting go. Thank you for walking alongside me as long as you did. So long.